Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone on this chilly night, first meeting in January. Calling it to order, I need a motion to let Trustee Kritzmeyer attend remotely.
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Trustee Tanucci, seconded by Trustee Borowski. I just think that's a voice vote, right?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Well, Trustee Kritzmeyer, welcome to the meeting. All right, let's rise for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on the agenda, either in person or remotely, is the homeowners associations. Is there anyone for Sherman's Pine Valley? Lonnie, Susan? Salem on the Lake, Susan Klein. I do not see you. Anyone from Salem on the Lake? Next item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone have any public comment? Please state your name and go ahead. Andrew. You can sit down if you want.
Okay. My name is Jeff Blackburn, and I submitted an email pursuant to your procedures regarding a special use application. I sent it to Dana McCarthy today. There's a special use application by 4359 RFD or 4359 Illinois Route 22 that we have some objections and some questions regarding the application that was refiled in November of last year. And some of these examples are in the email that I sent. This will become part of the record today. The reason that I'm commenting on what I've already sent you is I'm not sure what the procedure is from here. If we have questions or reactions to the application that is currently, I guess, submitted to both the village and the planning commission, how do we respond to that? In what format? Certified mail, email, in person? And then I have a question for the village board that it seems like the village outsources planning to the village of Mundelein, I believe. And Taylor Wertzkin is no longer there. Brad Jackson is no longer here. So we're not sure who to communicate with. And whether or not the planning commission is a decision-making entity, meaning once they feel that an application for special use has all the elements that it needs to have in order, whether it's an environmental study, a traffic study, or whatever, architectural design, landscape designs, do they, once they say everything's there, then just submit it to the village trustees for consideration, or do they pass it along with a recommendation, thumbs up or thumbs down? I'm just learning this, and I'm not sure how that works. So
you want to take the lead?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for your question. At this point, there's an application that's under review to determine whether it's complete or not. Once it's been vetted at the staff level for the technical aspects, there will be a public hearing. There will be a notice of that public hearing, and then it will be conducted by the Planning Commission Zoning Board of Appeals. That's a hearing and recommending body. It's there that your comments should be registered. That's the official part of the process. What you send to the village right now is something that can be gathered and will be provided as background information. But the actual process starts with that Planning Commission hearing. At that point, the Planning Commission, after it considers everything that the applicant and others may have to say, will make a recommendation. That recommendation may be in favor, it may be opposed, it may be in favor of it with conditions, and then it will come to the village board, and the village board will make the ultimate decision. But at this point, the kickoff of that process has not yet occurred.
So the Planning Commission then, even though I think it's...
Planning Commission is part of the village.
Correct.
But it's a multi-step process before it comes to the village board for consideration.
Got it. And the Planning Commission, when they're considering Long Grove issues, meets here? like to the public hearing.
Ordinarily, if not, the notice will indicate otherwise.
And what would be the typical procedure for the advance notice and how we receive the notice, or like, who would be notified?
There are three basic things that you should be keeping an eye on. One, the village website. The village will have to publish a notice in the newspaper about the hearing. Newspapers have become a little less popular these days, but that published notice will also be available on the website. So that might be your best opportunity to keep apprised of it. Depending on where you live and how close you are to the property, you may get a mailed notice, but you may not. There's also a sign posted on the property. Whether or not, people can see the sign, who knows if it snows. The sign is an opportunity for that as well. But those are the three basic forms of notice.
And it's 30-day notice?
The notice is between 15 and 30 days in advance of the hearing.
Okay.
If I could add, I might send that notice, since it only goes to people within 250 feet of the property, I'll probably send one to the HOA president that can distribute to other members of the community there.
So we're adjacent to the property,
So you'll get a notice.
We're 0 feet.
You're 0 feet? Okay. You will get notice.
Okay.
So that's within 250 feet, so.
So, and the notice would be mail,
Yes,
certified mail?
yeah.
Okay.
No, not certified, right?
I think that's a regular mail. Do we do it certified?
Certified mail, okay.
And just so you know, we have, Mundelein, we have the director of the department now serving as staff, so, yeah, and I'm the interim manager, and soon there will be another permanent manager. So we're fully staffed.
Okay, so last question, and then I know Ron's gonna say anything. So the email that I sent to Dana today will somehow get into your hands?
I did not receive the email on Dana.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't get it, so we can talk after.
Okay, well, I sent it at 12:30, and then I forwarded one from Ron because he was getting a pushback from your email.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
So,
Hey, Dana, I was having problems yesterday sending emails to you as well.
okay.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I've had two or three.
So I don't know what's going on with that email. I was having my own. It didn't get to you through the Long Grove address either. We were having issues. You're right.
I think when there have been attachments, the system's been unwilling to accept them.
Got it. Well, it made it to some, but yeah, about yours, correct, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't, rather than the email, it was a Word document. So
Got it.
I'll just circle around with you, Dana,
Yeah.
and make sure that you got it. It was sent today.
Yeah, it'll get posted on the website, but Dana, will you also send it to us too, so we can read it? Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I hope I didn't go on my 3 minutes. Your turn.
You're good. Go ahead.
Hey, my name is Ron Starr. I came here, to the village from Buffalo Grove, 22 years ago through Bobby and Bill. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Hasn't been that long.
We don't wanna think that, I hear you. But, I'm here for the same reason. And I sent an email to Dana, got rejected, but twice. But Jeff forwarded it for me, so hopefully this stuck. And if you don't, see it, let me know. And actually, I have a hard copy of it too, if you'd
Well,
like.
there you go, perfect, yeah, we can,
Except the links probably won't work if you touch them.
I already got some email ID already.
Oh, geez.
So I guess there's no point in me taking up your time to go through anything because this is not the right forum to do that. So I'm here for the same reason. I'm concerned about this facility being built adjacent to my property in an area that to me doesn't feel like appropriate, should I say. Drove here from the Glen. I had a family dinner and passed many synagogues or churches, not many, but I passed several worship facilities. And I didn't see one that was located in a residential area like what is proposed here. And I'm concerned about all of the various components that worship facility will bring, I wouldn't care, I'm Jewish, so I wouldn't care if it was a synagogue, I don't care if it was a mosque, I don't care if it was a Catholic church. To me, in this location, it doesn't feel right. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Jean Sylvester?
Hi, I'm Jean Sylvester, I'm the Chair of the Architectural Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission, and my comment is about the changes to the hall and the barn relocation project. In connection with the project, I reached out to the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office and asked them for a courtesy review of the project. Anthony Rubano, who is a supervising and reviewing architect at SHPO, issued a courtesy review, which I don't know who Ken Meeks is, but he's supposed to be here. Hi, nice to meet you. So he is going to discuss this. My only comment is that I'm happy to talk about this also, but in the event that you have any questions while I'm here, but I would like a copy of this courtesy review put into the record of tonight's meeting and a copy given to the Historical Society. Because in the comments, and I hope all of you read his response, it establishes what I have been saying and what I believe is really a framework for historic preservation movement in Long Grove, and that is that the period of significance for this area is in the 1970s, and if this document is placed on file, that would provide sort of a basis for the village going forward with other historic preservation projects.
And that letter you're gonna email to us, or?
I think Ken has, don't have that?
No.
Okay, so, it was an email that was sent to Jim Baxa, and I asked Jim if he forwarded, he said that you would have a copy. I have a hard copy of it, but,
Yeah, Jim's been out, sick, so
Well, paper's working really well today, so.
Sure. Read this?
no.
Oh, my gosh, well, that's terrible. Sorry that you're putting that spot, but
No.
in any event,
You wanna read it out loud, Ken?
here it is. I mean, whatever, here it is.
Well, either way, I'd love a copy, so I
I'm
can
sure you
review
would,
this.
yeah. So it's from Anthony Rubano, who's from the State Historic Preservation Office, to Jim Baxa, with a copy to Jeff, and copy to me, and copy to some other people at the
Okay.
show.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think it would be very helpful for everyone to read it. And I'd like to give a copy of this to the Historical Society too, for their records.
Is there a couple sentence summary you want to share with us tonight, or?
Sure. So were you prepared to talk about this project at all?
Yeah, somewhat, yes. I'm
Okay.
aware of the project and the situation.
Okay.
Don't have as much knowledge, obviously, as Jeff does.
Sure. Okay, so Jeff asked, Jim I'm having an awful time with these reading books.
Just call him Jim.
They're not my best ones. Jim Baxa with Gawalt Hamilton Associates, and he asked if the State Historic Preservation Office needed to issue a permit for the building relocation, the barn and schoolhouse. He said both structures will be relocated on the same parcel as they are currently positioned on. So he's asking about a move on site of these two buildings, not across town. He also said, and I do have kind of an issue with this, that the project is currently earmarked to be conducted through local funding. It's my understanding that it's going to be funded through ARPA funds, but I don't know that would really make a difference. And so Anthony wrote just a 4-5 paragraph response. He said, right now, the way this is structured, there's no formal permitting process for relocating two structures, historic or not, on the same parcel where they currently are from the SHPO. So basically, he said, if the funding is local, it doesn't trigger their review. So what a courtesy review is, if the state were involved, what would they say? So he's saying it's likely not under their review, but if it were, what would they say? And just summarizing it, he said, if this project were submitted, we would likely say that the complex of the roof barn, school, and village hall are eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places because of their associations with the early development of Long Grove as a suburb and the effort and vision of Robert Parker Coffin, which would be under criterion C of the National Register for urban planning. Buildings are from the 19th century, but they have been moved from their original locations and have been altered from their original expressions. So from their perspective, the building's real significance arises from their assemblage and rehabilitation in the 1970s into a village hall complex emulating those of the 18th century Northeast. So the alterations done in the 1970s are what gives their significance, not their 19th century or 19th century origin. So then he goes on, and I know that this body has already approved all of the design for that, so again, this is just sort of theoretical. But he said because they would consider these buildings eligible, they would do a design review. He said the proposed addition to the village hall is to the east off of the rear, so that would be approved. It's the best position for an addition. They'd like to see the barn remain closer to its current location. There might not be a way to do that because of the wetlands. So the design of the proposed addition meets the standards, but they would ask for a subtle vertical reveal or hyphen that visually separates new construction from the historic building at the east end. That's it. So again, it likely does not apply because no permits are required from state. But if the permits are required, this is the review that they would give them. Me, and I know that you've already voted on the design, but for me, this is just important to put into the record because of his statements about the significance of the 1970s period, which I believe we can use if we consider the downtown business district and other buildings from the 1970s perspective as being historic. Use those to, using preservation incentives, using funding grants, et cetera.
Thank you, Jean. Do you have a question?
It just seems like more information. It seems like we're just filling up this bucket with stuff we can't use. And I'm not sure where we're going with this. I just know we don't have time to do it. So if we file it somewhere so that we have it, that's all well and good, but I can't see us jumping on trying to pursue any information that's in there. Or did I hear it differently?
I think you heard it differently.
Yeah, I think.
I'm not pursuing any information. I just want to place
You
on the record.
don't want us to pursue it, right? Or not?
Pursue what?
Pursue a 1970s theory of
Well,
no.
I think it could be good for the downtown is what Jean's saying. It has broader implications.
The cart has left the horse as far as me goes. It's done, it's over. But
I understand
the
that.
downtown business district is a completely different story.
But are we gonna apply that to them? I would think we need a little bit of thinking before we do that. We jumped into this and regrettably, and so I think we kind of need to pace ourselves before we use something new.
I agree. I think a lot of outreach and a lot of education needs to happen. I don't see anybody in this body or anywhere else jumping into anything, frankly. But if we do it appropriately and we do what we need to do ahead of time, then everything would fall into place.
Okay, my fear is that your committee would take this up.
I would hope that we would take this up. This is something that would be absolutely appropriate for our committee to take up.
Would you be using any guidelines from the village board?
I would have to look at the code and see what the code says about what our rights and responsibilities would be. But we are only advisory, as you know.
I know.
So we can only make recommendations.
I know.
So we have no choice but to send information to you.
We're gonna try to get, Gina on the board agenda. We're trying for the second January meeting, depending on how it works, to have her kind of explain some of the options available to us. They do have, the Architectural Commission, per our village code, does have, historical preservation charter, as it's written into the code. There's like 3 pages that was put in there in like 1993 or something like that. So they do have some advisory function to the board, and Jean was gonna make a presentation we're gonna give her time on the agenda to give a presentation to us on some of the thoughts in regards to this.
I just think about our list.
I know, it's, yeah.
And how we get this list down to manageable.
Yep.
And.
Yeah, I hear you.
Just warning. Yeah.
Well, I would say, thanks, Jean, for getting that info. I find it interesting, and especially with the historic preservation efforts we're talking about later this year, hopefully, with the pictures and so on and so forth, so.
Well, I would hope sooner rather than later. I had a phone call this afternoon with a resident of Long Grove who lives in a historic home, and he was asking me about the tax rate, property tax assessment rate that is available to owners of residences 50 years or more that are significant, either historic or architecturally. And he heard about the tax rate. I would like to think that he heard it from the...
Is this the same tax rate that's been around for quite a while?
Yeah.
Because for low income?
It's not low income.
Okay, it has another.
This has nothing to do with low income.
Okay, then it's a different.
This is an Illinois historic
Oh,
property.
historic, you didn't put in historic, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Okay.
Historic isn't in the title of the statute, but it is for historic or architecturally significant property. I spoke with him for over an hour. He lives in a historic building in Long Grove. He's interested in pursuing the tax free. It wasn't, unfortunately, because of the article that I wrote in the newsletter. He heard about it from another one of our commissioners, which is even better, because the word is spreading. If Long Grove is going to call itself Historic Long Grove, it really should be considered historic. It shocks me that nobody has taken advantage of this amazing incentive. You freeze your property assessment value for 12 years. If you live in a historic building, and you abide by guidelines in a rehabilitation. So he's interested in it. I can't help him, because we don't have a landmark ordinance in Long Grove, and his building is not listed on the National Register. We can do that, but there are timelines and guidelines that we have to work within. If we had a voluntary landmark ordinance where people could nominate their own property and become local landmarks, they would be able to take advantage of the tax assessment fees. That's only one incentive. There are multiple incentives that the village could take advantage of, business owners could take advantage of, and property owners, residential property owners could be taking advantage of. So this is something that I really do hope this board looks at these sooner rather than later, because we're losing out. I do this work professionally all over the North Shore, every day in Chicago. Libertyville is doing it, Barrington does it. All of these historic villages do this kind of work, or villages with historic buildings do this kind of work, and I would like to see that work start here. It would behoove the board to understand that these are financial incentives and benefits for its residents, and business owners.
So we're gonna get you on the agenda. We're gonna get you on the agenda, and, we'll review it then. So thank you for the comments, Gene, appreciate it. Any other public comments? Benjamin first, yep.
I'm Benjamin Matthews from 4369 Oak Leaf Lane. I'm Jeff Ron's neighbor. My question is to the village planner, if there's any status updates on the application for 4359 Illinois 22.
Yeah, the status update, which the attorney referred to earlier, is that the applications are under review for their completeness and for just general, planning and zoning, so that we can get it prepared for a public hearing. So
it's under.
Do you have a timeline on when, it'll make it to the PCBCA, or, what will it take, or?
Hopefully, I'd say maybe in February or March, probably February, that would be the timeframe that I'm shooting for, but it depends on the completeness of the application, which is still under review.
Anything else?
Application include Lake County also, or meeting Lake County requirements, or just village?
Is that okay if they're asking?
As with any kind of application with the village requirements are what we focus on. We usually have as conditions within any approval for zoning, compliance with all other applicable laws. So the fact that the village approves something doesn't mean that the next day they can go and start building. If they still have approvals that are needed from the county, or from the state, or from the township, as it may be, that's gonna or it could be another organization like, Lake County Public Works for sewer. Those are types of things that need to be addressed as part of any kind of ultimate building permit.
Thank you. Jane?
I am not gonna say what you think I'm gonna say.
What are you, you're not talking about the barn?
Talk about what you think. Because I obviously track all the meetings, and I'm concerned about making sure I come to all the meetings. Your next meeting is scheduled for Friday, January 12th. Yeah, okay, you got it fixed. I was just kind of concerned that you were gonna be having a meeting on Friday at 7 o'clock.
Oh, we are?
I don't know how it was on there, but it's fixed now.
Well, thanks for bringing that to our attention.
I didn't think you guys were meeting on Friday, and I certainly wouldn't wanna come that day anyway, so no offense, but.
All right,
That's it.
I have no idea.
thanks, Jane. All right, any other public comment? If not, anybody online? If not, then, speak up if you wanna talk. Public safety reports, from the Lake County Sheriff, Lieutenant Keith Kaiser.
All right, Happy New Year, everybody. Couple things, real quick, and then we'll get to, what we're asked to speak about tonight. Sheriff's Office is working in the village on, a contract, extension for, police services in Long Grove. We'll get that shortly hammered out. I'm working on, some annual statistics to show, the board, hopefully sometime in February, depending on the agenda. Annual statistics for the Sheriff's Office and, what we've done in Long Grove, over, compared to, like a 5-year period. That being said, I'm gonna speak real quick about, the migrant situation and what the Sheriff's Office is doing, or what we plan to do should we encounter, any migrants in Long Grove or in the county. Stick around for item 16 on the agenda, if anybody has any questions about that.
Can people online hear Keith?
Sorry.
Ann, can you hear?
Shut the microphone.
Barely.
Yeah, maybe just step forward a little bit. I won't let you, I promise. You got a gun anyway, so. We're unmuted. Sorry, we're better now. Yep.
Essentially, if any migrants are dropped off anywhere in the county, I think to date, we've had about 300, right around there, about 300 migrants that were dropped off in the county, with the majority of them being near train stations. Sorry, my back to you.
That's okay.
So what the Sheriff's Office is planning to do is, I'll first say, the Sheriff's Office has a policy that we're not allowed to detain someone based on their immigration status or their citizenship status. So any encounter that we have with a person or a group of people, has to be consensual. So that means that, we need to use our power of persuasion to keep people in an area, where they're unfamiliar with, and try to kind of corral them, to get them to, the services that they need or that they came here for. With that being said, the Sheriff's Office, Mike Jackson, have been working with Lake County Emergency Management, and Art has
worked with, Gila Township specific for Long Grove. So, Gila Township will serve as kind of a warming center. And then we'll work with, emergency management, trying to get buses or vans to transport people to a shelter while we, work out the situation. We are allowed to escort, vans or buses that we are able to procure to, transport them to the Chicago's Office of Emergency Management, OEMC, and they accept, migrants that are coming in as long as they have a police escort. Is that after hours just after hours, or? It's no, right. So the sheriff's office, we would have to work to arrange manpower to get, to escort the buses downtown, drop off, and come back and make extra trips if we need to. So that's pretty much the plan that we have in place. I don't know if that was clear enough for you guys. If you have any questions about it.
Is that rule because Lake County is a sanctuary county?
I don't believe Lake County was a sanctuary county.
Or was it just Waukegan?
Not officially.
Somebody is, but I didn't know whether it was Waukegan, Zion, the county.
The sheriff's office has had this policy in place for several years now about the immigration status, along with other things. And that's, I'm pretty sure that that's something that, is linked to our accreditation as well, where the accrediting body says we're not supposed to detain people based on their immigration status. Just merely off the bat.
Is that a universal thing?
No.
It's an achievement the county wishes to have.
Yes. If a crime occurs, if a crime has been committed, we enforce the crime, but we can't detain them simply off of that. Yeah.
It so happens that the system getting dropped off in Lake County, then it has to be with the mutual consensus, you guys drop off to the downtown emergency management area, or, that is going to be enforced. Suppose they insist that they want to be dropped off here, Lake County. So what is your action plan for that kind of situation?
So that's where our powers of persuasion and trying to talk to people, to get them to say, the services that you're looking for, we're not able to provide here. And Chicago has the money from the state to provide the resources, and that's where you're better off to get the resources. So it's trying to
Persuasion and consensus, based on both parties agreeing and then moving it.
But if somebody doesn't want to go and they want to stay somewhere, we don't have the legal right to push them out.
Right.
I have a question. Is there what's the closest shelter that they can stay in to closest proximity to Long Grove?
So that's what the village manager has worked out with Gila Township, but it's temporary, the warming center and kind of a staging area that the migrants can go there for that time. As far as
What is there a location of it?
Is it on 22, Route 22?
I think that's
Gila Township Hall? Yeah, Gila Township Hall, yeah.
Main and 22.
But that's not a long-term solution, that's more like an overnight thing if necessary, until they're able to be transported downtown, for a few hours.
Michael,
Let me interject something here. First off, the word shelter is not being used, okay? I need to dispel that, because a lot of people are getting misconception of the word. What it's called is a respite center, and what that is strictly is warming. We're not looking for any municipality to house anyone overnight, at all, period. That's not an option that we're, from the Lake County side, are looking at all. So we're just looking for, if people were dropped off in a community, as these buses come in, and we do not know where they're coming, all that we are told is there's X amount of buses coming in to Chicago land. That's as generic and that's broad as it gets. So whatever community that the passengers, the migrants, asylum seekers, whatever
they're called this month, you know, the bottom line is, they're still human beings. And we need to look at how does our communities be able to effectively assist in the inclement weather. That was the main thing that we're looking at. So in the village of Long Grove, thanks to Art and working with Gila Township and making that happen, should that occur, we would call and say, hey, there's a bus of passengers here that needs temporary lodging until we can get a bus to take them to what they call the landing zone, which is in Chicago, where they will be processed at any given time. So that is the most important thing, is to dispel the rumor of sheltering. We're not asking for anyone to put cots up. We're not asking you to put them up in hotels. We're just looking for the process of having them out of the weather elements that we're about to obviously have, and in a humane manner as much as human.
That's great, you got a plan.
So there is a plan, and your communities, various communities have said they have warming centers and they understand what's involved in the process, and that's going to help us all out. And secondly, most of those who are coming here or have come here from Texas are already in Chicago at the center being processed. There's nobody here that we know of that decided to stay in Lake County for whatever reason.
Dark and cold.
You know, it's cold, right, you know, I mean, if you see, we've all seen everyone on TV, and it's appalling. I mean, there's no other way for me to say it. And it's tragic, because you see them coming up with their blankets, and you see them with their, obviously their pajama pants, and unfortunately, that's what the people are coming here with, their bare minimums. So all we're just doing is trying to make sure that we can get them out of the elements and get them to Chicago. Now, the other side of it is, they have, when they get here, they have what are called handlers. The handlers is responsible for them. The handlers speak Spanish, speaks the language that they need to speak. The Spanish speakers, whoever needs to be the language that they're using, they are in charge, the handlers are in charge of that bus and the passengers. So what we've seen is handlers will come to the metro station. If there's a metro station in the community, they'll buy tickets and they'll put the passengers on the train to Chicago. There's nobody been left behind, and very limited that I know of anybody saying, I want to stay in Lake County. They understand that they're going to come here somewhere in either Lake County, Cook County, McHenry County, and that they're going to be transferred to Chicago. So that's the most important thing that I can say. I'm sorry to, not, but just add more to it, because there's so much misconception going on, and there's so much doubt. And I just want to let you know that that is not, we're not looking to, again, invade a community with people that you don't know about and things of that nature. That is not the intent, and that is not the will of the process. I'm sorry.
For people who are dropped off in Illinois, is Chicago the only location, or is there Chicago, Rockford, and Bourbonnais? So
no, Chicago is the main hub of everything. Yes, ma'am. So Chicago is it. Everybody goes to the landing zone, as they call it, in Chicago on Des Plaines Avenue. So that's where everyone goes. They get processed. Then Chicago will take care of where they need to go from that point.
Where the federal money
So, and that's what Chicago's got the money. Chicago has the money, and the Illinois Department of Human Services. They're the only ones that got the money to deal with this situation, to be totally honest with you.
Now, you said 300 so far?
Yes.
So if that becomes a growing number, 600, 800, are we prepared locally, or are your force prepared locally to handle those numbers?
We will make sure that they get to Chicago. That's the only thing that we need to do, processing them to make sure they get on either trains or they get on the buses and they're at the landing zone.
We don't want them to have to stay any longer in Lake County than needed.
Who has the control over the, buses, the transportation, so?
The buses come in, the transportation, the actual person in charge that works with them are the handlers on the bus.
But I mean, to get more buses, to keep the buses.
If for unincorporated Lake County, we, with emergency management, will work with that particular municipality to try and get that transportation handled. So that is for unincorporated, okay? The other communities that are incorporated, that is their responsibility. And that's how they would work with getting, again, if they have to do escorts from a local municipality to get them going.
Pretty cool.
You know, and they'll take, you know, and the nice part about that is, and I apologize for taking all your time, but I do want to dispel some things. But the nice part about it is, you have a municipality that's incorporated, they take the bus to Chicago. Now, we don't have to worry about a bus just traveling willy-nilly and getting dropped off in Long Grove because the bus driver's like, I'm not going back to Chicago. Well, now, they have no choice, because now they have a police escort, making sure they get back to Chicago, to the landing zone, and nowhere else down the road. So that's the total goal of the process. And it's working. It really is, so far. So, like I say, it's just, again, be mindful. Again, you know, it's nothing to be frightened about, because it's not anything. Again, the most important thing is the places that the buses are going to are the metro stations in the community. And like I say, and if there is the village or the city knows that a bus is there, because someone's gonna call at, 1, 2 in the morning, hey, by the way, there's a bus of people here at the train station. The police will then go there, assess it, and then make the right call to get them to Chicago, be a train or be a bus, or in most cases, what we've seen is the bus that they've come on has been escorted with them down to Chicago. Because now they have someone to actually validate what's going on. And that's saying, okay, you got a police escort, we can look at that. Now we can take these passengers and process them. It's not just like you dropping a bus off based on the fact that the ordinance that Chicago has.
But you gotta stress your staffing levels. I mean, you're pretty, not the most concentrated force in Lake County, right? But you do an amazing job. Sure. And then to add this to it, and then also have to do your daily job.
Luckily, the sheriff's office hasn't encountered, the situation yet. Other municipalities have, and like Waukegan and Highland Park.
Never mind, I was knocking on wood.
Oh. Oh, okay, I thought you like sit down. I thought that was a hammer. I didn't like, oh, I know that's an hour chip. He has his only shoe at the end, so we're okay. Thank you.
We are probably gonna have to get going though, so unless there's other questions.
One
Yeah.
question. Okay, you've got these reasonable numbers now. With hundreds of thousands coming in every month into this country, where are you going?
Well, that's gonna be a situation that Chicago will have to deal with, because
The
we
hundreds of
have to
thousands?
go, whenever, we still have to send them to Chicago. There is no other site that's been pointed out in Illinois
Is
other than
anybody
Chicago.
planning, I mean, you bring millions of people and I haven't seen plans that say, we're gonna do this and this and this and that.
Well, all we're told is, we need to get them to the
Oh, they're here.
landing zone in Chicago.
Okay,
They're here,
okay.
and I won't take up much of your meeting time, but, they're here, we need to get them to Chicago, and it's what our marching orders are.
Thank you for that report, appreciate it.
Good, sorry.
Anything else? No?
No, I got another meeting.
Thank you, thanks for being here. Mike, thank you. Okay, now have the consent agenda. There's several items on it. Approval of November 2023 Treasurers Report. Authorized payment of the pending bills and invoices when due. We don't have the list yet, so it'll be subject to ratification at the next board meeting on January 23rd. Approval of the regular board meeting minutes from December 12th, subject to non-substantive revisions. Approval of the executive session meeting minutes from the executive session meeting on December 12th, subject to the same thing. Appointment of an assistant to the village manager and appointment of a part-time administrative assistant. Any questions, or does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
Well, I'll do maybe a comment question. Were resumes sent out of the staff members that were contemplating here, number 9, number 10?
Only to, the trustees that participated in the evaluation and the interview process, which were trustees, were Ann and Ken.
Well, in that case, how would you like me to vote tonight?
I'd like you to vote approval.
Then I'll request we withdraw 9 and 10 from consent agenda.
Okay. We're gonna withdraw those two items. Does anyone wanna make a motion to approve minus those two items? Moved by trustee O'Reilly. Seconded by trustee Borowski. Is that a voice vote roll call?
That is a roll.
Roll call, because there's money. Roll call.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
I'm not sure what we're voting on here, so.
We're voting.
Voting on the consent agenda minus.
Except for 9 and 10.
Okay, thank you, yes, aye.
Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye. Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, so number 9 and 10, does somebody want to make a motion to approve or appoint the assistant to the village manager and appointment of a part-time administrative assistant?
You doing both at the same time?
Yes.
Have we ever appointed anyone other than a manager?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
No.
And the question is, should we have, right?
Right.
And under our code, the manager actually has the ability to hire, so long as it's within the budget. I think that Art, because of his interim status, didn't want to move forward with this without the board, marching behind. And I understand fully why this is before you, and that's what he's asking for your consideration and approval for.
Do you want to disagree?
The code says, subject to the board's approval. Manager can appoint subject to the board's
I
approval.
think I told you that, didn't I?
No, it was in the
Yeah,
code.
okay. Well, in the past,
We've never done it
the
before.
past board has
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So in the case of number 9, the assistant to the village manager, 2 trustees, I was one of those 2, had an opportunity to review the resumes as well as interview the candidates.
This isn't about the candidates. I don't know who they are, I don't know anything about them, and I don't care to appoint them. I care that I have them hired.
So you're saying you feel we don't even need to get involved?
No.
I have no opinion one way or the other on that matter.
Well, I mean, does somebody want to make a motion to appoint? Let's see if we get,
I'll make a motion, 9,
okay. Moved by trustee Tanucci, seconded by,
I'll second.
we'll do, trustee Kritzmeyer.
Can I make a comment?
Okay, so, sorry, you got beat by Rita here in the room, so.
No problem.
Just a comment, when I first brought this in front of the board, I suggested this be the process, that I get 2 trustees to participate in the interviews, and I put the copy of a code which requires the manager do it with the consent and approval of the board. And so the process, before I started this process, I let you all know about that, and I assumed that I thought that I had gotten approval for that. So, and that's why we went forward to where we're at right now.
I know, number 10, she's fabulous. Can't regret it.
And as I said, for me, it is not the people,
Right.
it's the process.
Right.
We've never done it before, and then it makes me wonder, well,
Well,
if this
allow
board
me-
appoints them,
In all due deference to Art, there's some ambiguity in the code, but what it says is appoint and discharge subject to board approval. So I have always understood that to mean that any discharge by the manager is subject to board approval. The appointment is not. If you read that sentence, it could be read presumably either way. I've always understood it to be that the appointment is for the manager, the discharge is for the manager, subject to board approval. There are obviously prudential reasons for that, because of the liabilities that might otherwise arise. And, as a result, I think that customarily, it has not come to the board. I understood that it was coming to the board in part because of the interim status, and Art did present this method to you, I think it was at the last meeting or the meeting before.
So what do you suggest we do, Vic?
You have it before you. It's a motion, it's been seconded. There's certainly no harm in having the board approve it. If the board says no, well, then we have a different issue to confront. Because I don't think that Art would be prepared to actually hire them, when the board is saying no.
Take the roll call vote, please.
Trustee Canucci.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor. Aye. Trustee Borowski.
No.
Trustee Jamil.
No.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Yes.
Trustee O'Reilly.
No.
Okay, yes, motion carried.
Can you insert something that explains this is not opposing the people?
It's a process,
Not been open for.
opposing the process.
I mean, to start out knowing that I don't like her. It's not good.
Oh, geez.
May I, in light of the conversation tonight, may I suggest that we bring forward an amendment to this section consistent with what has been the traditional way of doing it?
Yes.
That is, appointments are by the manager, and it's only the discharge that comes to the village board.
I just didn't want to see our new manager with any hands tied.
Yeah, and I think getting some clarity on that, has some value.
Yeah, but oversight's important too.
Oh,
And, recent history
absolutely.
dictates that
Yeah.
oversight
Oh,
is
yeah,
important.
oh, yeah,
right?
I agree.
So, obviously, my objection is, all I know is the name of the person, so, I don't have a resume, I have no information. So again, I'm not,
Somebody should vote for you then.
well, I mean,
That's how I feel, is if I know nothing, have somebody else vote.
yeah, fair enough, right.
All right, let's keep, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, so, other business, we have discussion and consideration of the Lions Club 1/20/24 Casino Night, special event permit, raffle license, with waiver of fee and liability bond and temporary liquor license.
Some of you should say 2023, I don't know if anybody else noticed that or not, but,
Oh, it says 2024 in the agenda, in the,
yeah.
in the application.
Right.
It says submittal date, well, it's submitted 12/22/23.
I think it was,
We had a couple bites at the apple.
yeah, I think it was the dance one. I noticed that the event was for 2023. I thought I was in the wrong column for the.
No, that's what you're looking at. The event
No,
date,
no.
1/20/23.
Yes, which is a year ago.
Yeah. It was a
I mean,
typo.
I assume it's 2024, but.
Yeah.
Oh, event date 1/20/23, so that has to be corrected, right? So, obviously, it's for the 24th.
It's the 20th, January 20th.
I'm sorry, it's 1/20/24, yes, not 1/20/23,
The year of 2024.
yes. Any questions?
Is there anything we need to know about this? It's out of the ordinary?
It's a company that comes in and they bring all the stuff. It's a fundraiser. It's a great organization that I've used them 3 different times.
So, yeah, a couple of our members have had these done where they've invited their whole neighborhood in. Jason Hensley was one of the Lungo residents who is also a Lion, and he suggested we do this. And, it's basically, you don't use real money, you just use like monopoly money. And, people, it's $100 to get in, and, you get as much money as you can lose in paper money. And we keep track of how good you are at losing money or making money. And whoever ends up with the most monopoly money at the end of the night there'll be a board of prizes, and what they'll be able to do is they'll have first choice of prize, and in doing these sort of things, for 40, how long has the club been, 7 years, I don't know, 6 years? For as long as our club's been around, we've done things like this, and it's funny, it's not always the big TV the person wants, you know? It's the bird stand, you know? It could be anything, but that's what this is, and, because, Brothers Field was able to, they were able to, run the bar for us, and, you know, that's pretty much, their part of it. Plus, they have a beautiful ballroom area, we're gonna have these roulette tables and different things, and, it's just a new look for us.
It's a new opportunity for socializing
Yes.
with, you know, your friends and your residents, and I would hope that all of our commissions and board members would go, because it's a fun thing.
Yeah, I was hoping that people would eat black tie and we play James Bond.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Whatever, you know.
Get out your costume.
Yeah, whatever, just so that kind of,
Somebody wanna make a motion to approve?
Someone,
Motion to approve.
but, you know,
I think you got beat.
Go ahead, Bobby. I'll second.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly, second by trustee Tanucci. Roll call?
Trustee O'Reilly.
aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Motion carried. All right, that was easy, John. Thank you. You have a bigger speech, I know, but, thank you.
at least you got an idea what it's about.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks for doing this. Discussion and consideration of Shelter Inc., 127, and 127 and January 27th and 28th, charity raffle license with waiver of the fee and liability bond. So that's what we're doing here, right? We're doing the waiver of the charity bond and the raffle fee, right? License fee. Yes, that's it. It's gonna be held at the brewery, Buffalo Creek Brewery.
Or no, this is gonna be at the dance studio.
Oh, is that one at the dance studio too, or?
No,
No, it's all one.
No,
second, we have.
Second, well, you have two of them in front of us.
Yours has been approved.
Yours has been
We're going to the
approved.
next one.
Oh, okay.
stop.
What's next door? No.
So,
You need a motion to.
we do.
Someone,
Moved by trustee O'Reilly,
Second.
second by trustee Tanucci, roll call.
Trustee O'Reilly.
aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
What are we voting on? I'm sorry.
You're voting on, this raffle for this
Oh, okay.
shelter.
Oh, it's for, yeah, it's a shelter, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 12, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Aye, sorry about that.
Trustee Jamil.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Okay, motion carried. Village planners report. You gave us a very detailed report,
Yeah.
Did.
so you're gonna go through it? Thank God, thank God.
No, I was gonna cover the, long growth park district signs that were at
Thank you.
the meeting. The other was just, it's been a while since I think you've all had a comprehensive list of what's going on and behind the scenes, and so you hear these things, and you may not know, hey, what happened to this thing we saw, months ago or whatever, so I just wanted to dial in on all those things, since I was dialing in on them with the staff change.
Yeah, thanks, very helpful.
So, in terms of the Park District signs, the AC met, on, December 18th. The Long Grove Park District has installed, unfortunately already, a bunch of posts for, signs that they'd like to put up, just to kind of update their signage that they have on their different facilities throughout the community. The signs are white posts with, a nice white, rectangle that goes with them, with the green, and brown, lettering on them. And the commission, made a motion to, approve those signs, those designs for the signs. Now, there's a little bit of kind of a question on where exactly are the signs in terms of the, right-of-way lines versus the property lines and the setback requirement. So we're still trying to hone in on those and see if those signs are properly placed where we think that they should be. And if they're not, there might be some variances that have to go through the Planning and Zoning Commission and then the village board. So we're still working through how to best do that. The paperwork that the Park District had wasn't, quite useful in determining that, so we're still trying to work through those items. And then there was a sign that required, or there was a request from a neighbor to move a sign, and so during the AC meeting there, they came to an agreement that the sign, would potentially be relocated to, the residents', request. So they mutually agreed upon that, which was nice. So, that's about it for the pending, meeting. So as you saw from the list, there's some things that are in the hopper that will hopefully move their way forward, public meetings and then board meetings.
Questions? Well, thank you for that report. Thank you. Now, this is the, number 14, Village Engineers Report.
Yeah, so a quick introduction, I'm Ken Meek, I'm sitting in for Jeff tonight, I work at Gaywald Hamilton with Jeff. And in the interest of time and Jeff's absence, I'll be pretty brief for the engineers report. I really just want to highlight, number one, the Village Hall expansion and also the roof barn relocation. So we do have some updated feasibility exhibits for the property at the Historical Society near Temple parking lot. Those have been updated and included in the board packet. Is there any specific questions for those updated feasibility exhibits?
You're talking about the site, overhead.
So piggybacking off of that, you know, our office is gonna be working on soliciting proposals this month for 3 different options. First option is to move the barn intact downtown to the farmhouse site. Second option would be to disassemble the barn, move it downtown to the same property and reassemble it. And the third option would be to relocate the barn on Village Hall site near Archer School. We're looking to get, you know, that information over the board by either the first or second meeting in February. Second at the latest, obviously, we know that there's the hard deadline of April 1st to get this moved. And with that, in the meantime, we're gathering all the information. I think Jeff is working with Amanda to kind of create comprehensive list of all the different action items, what the time frame and associated cost is to each of those. So that's underway, and that, you know, I believe is gonna be, finished next week. So that's all I have on that. Is there any other questions? Otherwise, it's, into my report.
Did Jeff leave, or is there any info on how many trees would have to be cut down if plans are used?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I think at this point, we just have the aerial, so we know there's gonna be some tree impact, but we haven't, I don't think we've consulted with the village arborist in terms of, you know, size, species, anything like that. And unless we have kind of an actual detailed topographic survey, we're not gonna know, you know, the impacts to trees and then impacts to root zones of other trees that are in the vicinity. So I don't have the exact number there.
We plant trees here, we don't take them down.
Yeah, the nice thing is with that updated exhibit, you know, we did delineate the wetland and found that it is pushed further back into the southwest corner than it was originally shown. So that required 50-foot buffer is probably no longer gonna be an impact. There's still some other extenuating circumstances that we're gonna have to do a topographic survey to see where exactly we could put the buildings. But so far, the information that we're getting is good information.
What, we done any soil tests, or will soil tests be done?
We will need to, yes.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
I was just wondering if I could get a copy of that list that you're talking about, of the to-do list? I'm sorry, my name is Jane Krynick, I'm the president of the Historical Society. I'm just wondering if you're talking about putting together a list.
Right.
Is there a way I can get a hold of that list?
Yeah, as soon as it's completed, yeah.
That would be great, thank you so much.
No problem.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move to the next agenda item, which Art's gonna introduce, right?
Yes. And,
This is discussion of the village role in the roof barn relocation downtown?
yes, and fortunately, Ken pretty much covered my entire report. We had a letter from Jane about the roles and responsibilities for it, and, I guess I'll reiterate what Ken said, just that, Gaywald Hamilton is gonna solicit proposals to move the barn this month. It's collecting information it needs to do that. There's gonna be the 3 options that Ken mentioned, and just to reiterate, to move the barn to the, Historical Society's farmhouse downtown, or disassemble it, move it downtown, and reassemble it, or move it to the school next door. right here on the Village Hall site. And the village board's gonna make a decision as to which moving company to use and which option, on its meeting on either the February 13th or February 27th meeting. There's a lot of information that has to be gathered to do this. As you recall, we had talked maybe in October of trying to get this done then. We weren't able to do that. So Jeff and Amanda are gonna put that together at the beginning of next week, and then I'll get that out to you, the board members, and to the Historical Society, so we can find out, what needs to be done and who needs to do it, what's the time frame, and how much the cost is, and who's gonna pay for it. And that information will be disseminated then at the end of next week is the goal. I don't think there's any problem with that. I've talked to both Jeff and Amanda today, and they both feel that they've given bits and pieces of that information already, so that'll be put together and disseminated to all the board members. With that said, I think the only thing, this item is more of an information item. It's not a decision item. The only thing I would suggest to the board is that I think there's three actors involved in this: the village, the Historical Society, and the Downtown Association. And I think those three groups ought to get together and decide with representatives from each of the three groups to decide, using that list that Jeff and Amanda put together, who's gonna do what and when, so that we have something definitive to go for prior to the meeting in February, where the board decides where it's gonna be moved to and when. So that's pretty much it for this item.
I think that's a great idea, because I'm very concerned about what I would call barn creep. I'm obviously a strong proponent of moving. However, somebody's got to decide something sometime, and I don't get a feeling yet that anybody knows who's gonna do anything other than Jeff. And I don't want that creeping into being his job. There's some things he has to do, but a lot of things he doesn't have to do. And so other people need to step up and take accountability for doing things. And that might be the way to establish, I'm doing this, you're doing that, and we'll all come together in a week and see where we are.
On that a little bit. I understand what you're saying, but specifically, what?
Well, feasibility study. Are we going to expect Jeff to do everything? I don't know, and this isn't about the historical, I don't know what the Historical Society is doing. I don't know, are they still working on a grant? Do they still have money, to do what they want to do? Or is there gonna have to be an accommodation because of money? I don't know. And I think we need to know. And the time, the red flag, is coming soon. And I hope we're as prepared as we can be to say yes or no.
Yeah, I have similar questions. Those are like the beginning of the list. There's a lot of, I'm presuming we've got some pretty extensive engineering fees that are gonna be charged for this. Feasibility, engineering, septic field, arborist, and so on and so forth.
Wetland.
Yeah, soil tests. We would not be expending those monies if we were gonna pick it up and move it here. So now it's the cost of the new village hall keeps going up and up and up if all of these fees fall on the village. And I think that the Historical Society needs to have they need to have money for these kinds of tests and these kinds of studies. Ordinarily, we wouldn't absorb them, have these expenses. And I'm really not sure why, while I appreciate what everybody's done, I appreciate the dedication, I appreciate the preservation, and certainly the passion for preservation. I think it's important in our town. I don't understand why HCLGBA would at this time be involved, really. I know that, Ryan has mentioned that, this would be great for tourism. And I don't know where that comment comes from. I don't know what it's based upon. We certainly haven't drawn big crowds previously. So, I don't think it's gonna hurt tourism. I don't know that it's gonna be necessarily the boom that has been.
You don't think having a beer and going to the bar is an attraction? I'm sorry.
That could be promotion, beer in the barn.
A beer in the bar.
Yeah,
Don't give Mike Marr any ideas.
there could,
Sounds like a fundraiser.
It does.
there could be a lot of it, but, we haven't seen it I haven't seen it that much in the last 15, 20 years. I know about Halloween, and I understand that sometimes the children still do come, but it's not what it used to be. So I'm just, these are questions I have that I think we should talk about. We should come to an agreement and work out certainly some more financial.
And Art, that's what you were laying out, right? The process to do that.
Yes.
The working group together to lay out, to discuss all these things and come up with a plan or recommendation on who does what, right?
Yes, and get village reps to this working group, if the board can agree that they will let those two reps handle it.
It's not a matter of handle, it's a matter of no information. I'm really disappointed by that comment. I really am. I mean, I've got a name to vote on, that's what I have. I have no resume, I have no background, I have no skill sets. Really disappointed in that comment.
Well, I think that Art's idea of the three, and I don't know, well, no, I do know why downtown wants to be involved in this, but I wanna know how financially involved they'd like to be in this.
Well, okay, help me with that. Why? Well, sometimes two heads are better than one. Sometimes, three on a match is not good. So tell me more about.
Why do I think it would be attractive?
Then what the benefit is of HDLGBA. Certainly more than just dollars, and I don't even know if they plan to do any financing.
Well, I don't either, but I think so. And I think that they see this as, first of all, unique. Nobody else would have a barn next to a beer place. I mean, you can't make it up. And to have a school, to have you speak to it, Jane. Why would that be attractive in the downtown?
I can speak to it if you want.
No, I mean,
My first impression of all this being relocated over there is the age of the barn. Does it date back to the 1830s?
1860s.
1860s,
Yes.
it's the 1860s. The thing about, it opens up so much more that what the organization can do on the weekends. And in order to get these grants, it pushes them to get these buildings opened and used, and therefore the money will flow. So they'll get the money to create, for instance, like if you had one weekend out of the month, the barn would have a legitimate, gilded, an artist who would teach people how to do different kinds of ways of painting. Now, I know there's a lot of people in this town that would be signed up, it would fill up right away. And that's just one little inference. You could have, a music, being taught in the barn. And, then you could do the same thing with the school, once you got the school up in there. And we could, I'm sure we could get the schools to come visit again. Down here, I remember in the late seventies, and in the eighties, people, the buses came down here, they couldn't even turn around, you know? I mean,
Right, but I mean, that was the day of mango, and that was the day of the ice cream.
right,
truck. A
yeah,
lot of
and
that-
what did John Mingle do? He took
No,
all
we
these,
invited the schools.
we invited the schools, but we also, I mean, he had Ruth Brashman at the time, who was a great PR lady, you know. I mean, I worked for John for more years than I care to say, but, it's all about having, the lure. And the lure is, this is be down by the creek, it'd be next to a brewery, it's just so much more attractive than this being over here where you have to take a light pole out to move it. I mean, it's like, you know, and this is in the swamp. And I mean, we used to throw, with Cal Doty and Tony Burb, we used to throw horseshoes, we used to keep them under the steps over there. So I mean, you know, the area, and it just seems wetter than it ever was, and I don't know why that is, but, getting it over there, it's much drier over there, there's a lot, the land is a lot better than, as to what, Jeff and you were alluding to. If you walk over there, not any trees that are in the way, most of them are half dead. They're like, they're very, anyways, but besides the point of all that, I just feel what it does is it affords the Historical Society, it breathes new life into the organization. And all I know is, you know, if I ever, had a chance, I know a few guys that would like to do an anvil kind of a, you know, where, blacksmithing kind of a thing in the barn. I'd love to do that one weekend, and
I got one.
Yeah.
I already found one.
Oh, you have fun?
There are all kinds
I love my opportunity while I'm standing here.
there are all kinds of opportunities to attract people to various activities. That's part of it.
It's parking, it's everything.
It could be what they could make it. There are a lot of people in this village who have a lot of physical talent, and they make things, and they would more likely come to downtown and do their wares and create a whole atmosphere that could be attractive. But we're talking money. At least I'm talking money. I'm concerned about the money.
Yeah.
So can we follow this plan? Is everyone okay with it, and appoint 2 people to the committee?
Can I ask some more questions?
Sure.
Thank you. So who's paying for the engineering time? I think we allocated $50,000-ish towards the project of moving the barn over. Is this engineering fee coming out of that $50,000? Is it part of that $50,000? Who's paying for it?
I don't think we've really established that.
We just said we're gonna throw $50,000 into this.
Well, 50,000.
But we're
Go
gonna
ahead.
get it there, right?
No, go ahead.
Right now, the village is paying for it as part of the normal engineering fees, and that's why we needed to have a list of all the rest of the things that need to be done and who's to pay for them, because what's happening, it's been that creep. And they've been doing more and more things without there really being a decision being made. And so we need to have a list of everything that needs to be done, who's gonna do it, what's the time frame for it, how much it's gonna cost, so that the board can decide whether or not, the board is comfortable with that role, or the Historical Society is comfortable with that role. If the Downtown Association feels that they can help the Historical Society do something, because they have more volunteers maybe, you know, so that's the answer.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So there were 2.
Do we know what that number is right now?
No. No, you mean the number for future costs?
No, the number of what we already spent on feasibility studies for property.
No, because when the board approved those things, whatever it costs, you're paying, but we don't have, we can.
Excuse me, we approved a limit for those in the past. At a prior meeting, we approved, expending and sending Jeff off doing that up to a limit of, I think, $5,000. So that was a board movement, I don't know, 3-4 meetings ago.
That was for the feasibility study.
That was for one aspect of what they've been doing, the feasibility study. All
Yeah.
the other work they've been doing has not been approved.
Yeah,
So
and
now
if this were a private
find out.
developer, we would be asking for escrow. Given that it's not a private developer, we probably have we're in uncharted water.
Very apt. Yeah.
What was,
And then,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted maybe just reiteration, or maybe if Jane's here, she could just re-highlight the letter that she sent. My reading of the letter is, we'd love to have this moved, it's the village's responsibility, we're gonna throw some money in, but it's on the village to get this done. I'm just trying to understand if I interpreted your letter, or if I paraphrased it appropriately or inappropriately in my feeble mind. I mean, I'm just trying to understand the financial commitment from the Historical Society here.
When I attended the meeting in regards to the resolution that the village put together in regards to the move of the barn, it appeared at that time that the village was talking about items that they were taking on to do to help promote the move. And so as that progressed and we had a discussion about that, the biggest thing we want to happen is that you don't go partially through it and make some decisions and then somewhere in the middle go, oh, we don't want it anymore, it's yours. That's gonna be an awkward switch.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Well, at least we won't have to change horses in the middle of the creek, right?
Right.
Trustee Kritzmeyer, did you have something? No, sorry.
Already said it. Wanted to point out that there's a parallel to escrow, but this is not a private entity. It's a different thing.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say that when you do figure out, when you do figure out where the money is and where it's at, and if there's a bullseye that's gonna appear somewhere, I know the Lions Club would like to know how much money everybody's talking about, and also the HDLG, Historic Downtown Long Grove, also would like to know. And that's the only way you can ask for money, to know about where all this is going, because there really hasn't been a clear picture. So, when that happens, if somebody could send me something, and I can do what I can on my end.
Yeah, we'll definitely send you that list of all the steps and the timeframes and the costs.
Yeah, well,
Historical Society, Downtown Association, the Lions Club, any other groups that might want to get that list?
just their checkbook would help.
A checkbook?
I don't need to put that, just send me a checkbook.
Well, maybe Mike Oken might have a few, if he's done making movies,
Correct.
Can we get the exact number, just to clarify? Can you send out to the board what we voted on and any information, what we spent to so far?
The number is 2,000 according to the October 24, 2023 minutes.
Okay.
Page 4.
Okay. All
And
right.
I think we're probably there.
Yeah.
You think?
At this point.
Okay, but Art's outlined a procedure here, a process, to get a committee together, to try to vet all this stuff out, and then, hopefully have good information back to the board to decide where to go. Does everyone support that? Because otherwise we're going nowhere fast.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we need to have a working group, we need to, decide what direction we're going.
So who should be on that? We should be appointed from the board. There can only be 2.
I should be on there.
It should be.
Everyone okay with, Trustee O'Reilly and, Trustee Tanucci doing this?
Why is that?
What?
Why is that?
I've been involved in this from the beginning.
Okay.
Also been involved in the village hall of construction since the beginning. That's my thing.
That's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Bobby,
But for me, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
Chris is soon gonna be retired.
I'm done.
Go ahead, Ann.
I would just say, I appreciate Bobby as bridge builder, but which hat is she wearing?
Because you're a merchant also.
Well, no, I think so meaning HDLGBA advocate, village advocate, what are you saying, Ann?
Yeah, because if we're, Bobby, I would ask that you wear your village trustee hat. If we're gonna have you be.
I kind of think I wear them all the time. I kind of don't, I'm with the HGLGBA people. I have to think one way, and I'm with the Alliance, I'm with another.
My gosh.
I mean, if that worries you, you know, that I couldn't handle that, then I will certainly let somebody else who knows far less about it to do it. That'd be fine.
That's not what I meant. It's there. I don't, and it's not that not handle it, but it is the, you do have interest on both sides. And so I would ask that you know, generally I would think I want them to be in partnership and aligned, but if they're not, I would ask you to, you know, work on behalf of the board. My goal is not to create dissent. My goal is to create partnership, but things are not always aligned. It's not an impediment. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. It's a lot easier to do it in person, but that's a statement. It's not a vote.
Did I, in what I've said tonight, not hit upon all the groups involved? No, I don't want an issue. I truly don't want
Nor do I.
conflict. And so,
I've
communicated. You should do it.
No issue.
All right, okay, everyone, thank you for that feedback. Everyone okay if we appoint Trustee Tanucci and Trustee O'Reilly?
Yeah, but just so we're communicating with each other.
Just so we're communicating with each other.
Well,
okay.
Thank you.
You're good? You're good? You're good? You're good? That's a yes? You're good? All right. Decision made. Thank you. All right, moving on. No more barn creep. Discussion and that was your line, not mine. Discussion and consideration of an ordinance relating to the regulation and taxation of buses and the safe disembarkment of passengers. I'm gonna ask our village attorney to introduce this item.
Sure. We already had an introduction from Keith earlier tonight and from Mike Jackson. This is that was the how do we manage it issue. This is what can we do to regulate it in a way that we have some assurances that we're not going to have a surprise drop off with a bus driving off, leaving a large number of people. So we have, much like many other communities, prepared an ordinance that that does require licensing of any bus that's going to be coming in town with a group of passengers, dropping them off and leaving them. Our ordinance that's before you tonight has identified various categories of buses, but the one that is the key focus of it is what we've identified as passenger buses, namely those that are taking people or are bringing people into Long Grove and leaving without them. You know, if we have a busload from of people from, say, a senior community that comes in and shops and then leaves, they're leaving with that same group of people, and that in our definitions is a charter bus. We have school buses, we have transit buses being like PACE buses and the like. We have shuttle buses that might not always have the same identical people, but they're running routine routes in local areas in order to bring people to and from. It's really that one category, the passenger bus, that we're trying to focus on. And what we do, much like many of the other ordinances that you've probably heard or read about, is that we require them to apply for a license. We require them to do so at least 7 days in advance, 7 business days in advance. And we have a series of standards that they have to meet, including an identification of the number of people and a roster of them, so we know who they're going to be. The one thing that's different in our draft ordinance that I haven't seen in any other is that we're exercising one of the powers that's given to the village under the Illinois Municipal Code, namely the taxing of these charter buses. If they're going to be a charter bus and they're going to be bringing people in Long Grove and leaving them, they're going to be leaving an impact. And so we are going to require them to pay a tax. And, you know, we have a variety of standards where that tax actually goes up if they fail to follow our ordinance in the way that we have it set forth. And we have also provided that any of those tax revenues are going to be earmarked for serving the passengers that are brought by those passenger buses. And so that's the ordinance in short order as to what we've provided for you. We have varieties of penalties for violations of any number of the provisions in here. And one of the things that we provide also is that if somebody does come in and they do drop off people and try to leave, assuming that we have identified them, they have to pay the tax before they can leave with that bus. And so that is, again, one of the key provisions that we think is important if the village is going to be subjected to one of these buses, that we're going to be able to have some resources to accommodate the people that they've dropped off. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to address them, but that's the short sum and substance of the ordinance before you tonight.
Isn't there also something the board has to decide on too, if we're going to approve it?
There are varieties of highlighted fees and tax amounts that are in the ordinance. I think they're highlighted on the one in the packet. And so those are placeholder numbers. I've thrown them out there for whatever they're worth to you all, and that's something that you may want to give some consideration to.
Are they similar to the other ordinances other communities have, the dollar amounts?
Well, so far, the only ordinance that I've seen, or the only class of ordinances that I've seen with the taxes are the ones that we've prepared for our clients. The Village of Grays Lake approved it last night. There's an executive order in place in the city of Crystal Lake that has these same numbers, but they don't have a meeting until later this month. And so they haven't adopted it yet. They've done it by executive order after the emergency declaration. And so they've used these numbers, but that doesn't necessarily make any difference as far as what the village board thinks is appropriate.
And if we adopt this and we think we need to make changes to it, we always have that ability too, right? So we're not locked into it.
Right, and it doesn't require any special notice or anything like that. It just has to occur at a board meeting.
Right. What questions do people have?
I'm fine with the numbers as presented. They look reasonable. Looks like they'll get the job done.
Everyone's quiet.
I had one quick question.
Yeah.
There's a definition for a shuttle bus, which I take it is probably something like if you had a wedding and you were bringing people, it's 5 miles from our borders, good definition?
Right. And, you know, it could be the wedding situation where it's a different group that's going back and forth, but they're all going to and from specific locations or some route.
During the fest, we have a lot of shuttle buses.
Right, and all of those, I believe, are within the 5 miles of the village radius. That was one of the things that Trustee Canucci initially pointed out, that, you know, what about the festival? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, brain freeze on my part, but we did address it.
What about the fines for hitting the bridge? Do we get to add those on?
Different ordinance, different issue.
might be same issue.
Well, yeah. Well,
Dan, does that answer your
combination
question?
of issues.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing magic about it. I just, I'm thinking, I know of some weddings where they had things going back and forth and would not want to impede that kind of funness in the future.
Yeah, and I did follow a bus that hit the bridge that went to drop a wedding party off at the brewery too, so, and I reported it.
That
So,
sounds like a
I know
nursery
exactly-
rhyme.
I know exactly what you guys are talking about.
Wheels on the bus.
What'd you say?
The wheels on the bus.
The wheels on the bus, yeah, they were not falling off, but they're darn close. All right, what other comments, questions?
Ready? My watch just told me I need to relax because I'm in a stress moment right now, so. I see this as a little bit, xenophobic perhaps. I don't see it very welcoming, of people who are in that unfortunate situation who had to board that bus. I just don't see it very welcoming. I see it as kicking the can to someplace else. This is a problem that we have to face and address, but by doing this, we just say, hey, not in my neighborhood, go drop your people off someplace else. So I see us as not being very welcoming in that regard. And I see it as throwing us into this whole political debate, even though I saw the comments saying, oh, this isn't a political issue, but it really is a political issue, right? I mean, we could put more energy into other things. We could put energy into lobbying our state legislators to maybe do something differently with this sanctuary state status, which is part of the attraction. We could do things in lobbying our state and our local representatives to, try to put put some normalcy into this situation, try to regulate it a little bit more, try to do something with the border. This kind of puts us into that federal political debate, and I just don't think that's where I want to be. So if we're going to do something, I'd rather put resources into being more of a welcoming community. The sheriff's got a great plan, but I don't know if we have any money put into, what if? How do we handle the people who do show up and get dropped off in our community? And I understand the point. If we fine the heck out of a bus company for doing it, we get some money, we get allocated to that. But to me, I just would rather be a more welcoming community, and I just don't really have any interest in pursuing this.
I would note one aspect of the ordinance that differs from most of the other communities is that most of the other communities are requiring a lot more information about the passengers on those buses. This ordinance does not, other than the name and sex of them. And that's mostly to make sure that the bus is disclosing to us how many people we are going to be receiving, so that we have appropriate preparations for them. There's nothing at all directed to the passengers on these buses, unlike most of the ordinances that have been adopted in other communities.
That's all well and good, but you've seen the photos online of the passenger airplane tickets that simply say no name passenger, right? So what's that manifest for the bus driver gonna be? No name passenger?
No, if it doesn't have a name, then there's a different tax that applies to the bus.
Okay, that's fine, but our federal government is putting no name passengers on commercial flights with tickets that literally say no name passengers on them. So your expectation is that the bus is gonna get their name, and how real is that? How vetted is it? I mean, do they have ID cards? No, they have tickets that say no name passengers.
There are some other enforcement aspects that not only apply irrespective of this or any other ordinance, but there are state laws that do not allow buses or any person to give a ticket to a minor without the written consent of a parent. I don't know that the state of Texas is abiding by that, and that's something that has been on the books in Illinois for well over 30 years, having nothing at all to do with this. And that's something that, again, whether or not we adopt this ordinance is an issue out there. I certainly agree with you that this is an issue that is not a village issue. It's not a state issue. This is a national issue, but we've seen less than the necessary movement at the national level, and it's something that is hitting the ground in Lake County. It hasn't yet, to my knowledge, hit the ground in Long Grove, but, I believe President Jacob was knocking earlier tonight. And, you know, I think that we can knock, or we can knock and actually try to have some pieces in place so that if it is a bus that goes to another community and figures, oh, well, Long Grove doesn't have anything, let's go there. You know, then we are, I believe I heard Mike Jackson say that if passengers are dropped off in a municipality, transportation downtown is gonna be on the municipality. And so I don't know that we have that in our budget. What this tries to do is to make sure that if that's to happen, we have the tools to make sure that the impact is going to be borne by the one that's presenting the impact to the village.
Say your last sentence.
If there's gonna be an impact on the demands of services or costs for the village to transport people, or whatever it might be, this ordinance tries to match that impact with the cause of the impact, or namely the bus.
The cause of
The cause of the impact is the bus.
not what caused the bus to be an impact. Don't go back that far. I mean, it's like, I thought I heard Mike saying it's Texas's fault, and I wanna say, no, I don't think so.
You know, Texas has a tough situation itself. I mean, I don't think that assigning fault is necessarily going to be helpful, but trying to make sure that we have the most direct impact, addressing the cost of that impact is all we can do.
So what I wanted to say back to everybody, after listening to all this, I really believe that the ordinance is probably a good idea, and for probably different reasons. So when a bus does arrive, and right away, you know, you're gonna call Lake County and they're gonna show up, the ordinance gives us the teeth to redirect the bus to where it needs to go without the officer having to try to convince everybody on the bus. It's more of, it gives them a little bit more teeth. You said
There's not an issue if the bus happens to stop in Long Grove and nobody disembarks. It's the disembarkment that triggers us.
But it gives the officer, saying, well, I know a place where you can spend the night over, at the Elam Warming Center, or even more, they give them the escort, because I know they need to have an escort in order to get into Chicago. That's why they're dropping them at the train station.
Right. Well, and I think
all this is starting to get, in Chicago, is not so much a safe haven as it once was, but just from what I've seen on TV.
Thank you for those comments. We're starting to run out of time here, so, Ann, do you have anything to, I'm sorry, Rita, do you have anything? Ann's over here. Do you have anything?
No, my thoughts have been verbalized already.
Okay. Anybody else have any?
I would just say to this.
I didn't have the ordinance copy with me, so I'm not sure if I missed it or the email, but.
Well, it's in the board packet online.
Fundamentally, you know, it looks like the preventive step taken by the village, which, you know, Vic is talking about, and I agree with Chris that, you know, nothing of something which village can do, it's the Lake County's purview. So why are we proposing this ordinance to prevent the freedoms anybody can exercise coming into this country? The immigration is a huge issue by itself. So why is the village poking the nose and trying to create an ordinance to prevent the freedom? Anybody can come anytime.
There's nothing in this ordinance that would
The Lake County has delineated their policy of what, you know, they are going to talk to them and then try to move them. So why is the village entering into this?
The village doesn't have to. The village, however, if somebody comes in with a busload of people, drops them off and leaves, the village is going to then be bearing the cost of accommodating for them. And this is trying to match that cost with the responsible party, namely the bus.
I am for this one. I cannot vote on this. That's just not.
Okay. Let me take a straw poll. Anyone, interested in approving this?
Had I not listened to Vic, which is hard to do, I would have.
Thank you.
I would have voted differently, because I think it's a farce. I think it's a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. But I also see how we could get stuck if we didn't. It's kind of like, you kind of have to all be in the same boat. And we will now be in the right boat.
So you're a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Chris, you're a no? Dr. Jamil, you're a no today, right? You're a no tonight, right? You would not vote for this tonight? Okay. Ken? Yes? Rita?
I'm more inclined to approve it than not.
Do not?
Mainly because it keeps these people having unknown, weather unknown, just unknowns. It gives them something. I know we would have to hustle, and that concerns me more than this.
Okay. Trustee Kritzmeyer?
I agree. I think we need this. I also agree there are better ways to be welcoming, but this is not about welcoming the people. It's like the earlier discussion. It's not about the people, it's about the process. And I think we need this ordinance in order to work a better process.
Who wants to make a move to approve it?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee O'Reilly.
Second
by Trustee Kritzmeyer. Roll call.
Trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Aye.
Trustee Borowski.
No.
Trustee Jamil.
No.
Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Okay, the motion's been carried. Thank you. Village President and Trustee reports. I don't have a report tonight. Trustee Borowski, do you have a report?
Maybe just a comment. We did meet with the Sheriff's Department, as mentioned earlier, with Keith and his team. And one thing came out of it that was kind of interesting, and our was made aware of it as well. And I just want to bring it up tonight just as an FYI. Our village special events approval process currently does not have any procedure in place that would get a sheriff sign-off for the event. So if we have Strawberry Fest as an example, we're not really running anything past the Sheriff's Department to say, we've looked at the plans, it makes sense, or it needs to be modified because maybe you're serving alcohol till midnight, but your security detail isn't strong enough at midnight, or something like that. So it was kind of brought up and raised that maybe down the road, we need to take a look at how we approve special events going forward. And maybe there's a checkbox for the Sheriff's Department that says, we've looked at the plans, makes sense, or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, what that recommendation would be, or what that approval, disapproval would be by the sheriff. So just an FYI kind of thing to think about. We don't need any action tonight, just something that came up that we weren't aware of. And the second thing that came up was we actually don't issue our own parking tickets because apparently the sheriff doesn't have our village parking ticket book. So, Lake County Sheriff will issue anything that is Lake County ordinance, I guess, or code or parking violation, but if there's a specific Long Grove rule, they're not issuing tickets on our behalf because they haven't been doing that. So it's just kind of interesting. That came up and something we need to look at to see if that makes sense or not. But essentially giving the department and the officers our parking ticket book that says Long Grove on it.
Do we?
We do not.
Wait, no.
It'd be convenient during festivals.
I'm saying, it could. It could.
Yeah.
It could. We don't know any details like how many parking tickets were actually issued previously, or how many we'd expect to issue, or anything like that. But the fact is that Lake County Sheriff is not carrying Long Grove parking ticket books in their cars, so they're not issuing Long Grove parking tickets right now, so everybody listening to recording, please do not illegally park. Thank you, end of report.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Are we not recording on, Swalco anymore?
There's a meeting coming up next week, that's all I've got.
Because you could take batteries now.
I didn't know that.
Can I add to quickly? Go ahead. Chris was real helpful. We had a meeting talking this, and Keith is here too. And we're actually made the change, we're gonna make a change in our application so that when there's a festival downtown, and I talked to the Downtown Association already about this, there's gonna be a sheriff's checkoff on that. And, and then we're gonna have that, I'm gonna write that into our new sheriff's contract. So we've been talking about that. The parking tickets, I forgot, I've gotta get back into that. I've forgotten how that, but we've talked about.
I don't even know what the impact is or isn't on parking
But-
tickets, but.
But that's not to just that they don't talk before
No.
events. They do, they just don't have a sign up.
They just don't, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I would say at that comfort level that,
We started, stopped serving at 11.
okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to make that a little bit more formal.
Yes, that's
Just
a
to
good
make
thing.
sure that, because the village is responsible for security, and the security, we've hired the sheriff to take care of that. We just wanna make sure that
Yes,
they have,
no, I get
aware of each of those events, even though that's been happening informally,
Yes,
it needs to happen formally.
yes.
Trustee Jamil, do you have anything? Trustee Kritzmeyer? No report. Trustee O'Connor? Trustee O'Reilly?
No.
Trustee Sanucci?
I just want to reiterate my desire to see the beautiful lights that are on the bridge remain there beyond the holiday season. What I don't know is who owns those lights and what do we do to let them stay there?
Are you talking about the lights on the bridge, right?
Yeah, around the perimeter of the bridge.
They pretty much are, the Lions Club put them up, but the HCLG owns them. And, but it's kind of a gray area because we are everything, Sort of like, the mini hats that you wear over there.
Aren't they staying up until April anyway?
They are. There's
Yeah.
there's a movie, what is his name, Mario Lopez, in picture of that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, he's gonna make a movie in town, early, spring. And I guess he's bringing the, Entertainment Tonight people for a week, and, we're gonna get a lot of notoriety out of this. It's gonna be nuts. But, I'm usually the one who takes down a lot of the lights, so they're gonna stay up as long as, until I get the nod. But they're old-fashioned bulbs, so they're, filmed.
Oh, really?
That's why they have that neat look to them, and, it's already went out, you probably haven't noticed. And, but yeah, it's really, when they were filming the other movie that John Bosher and Chris Charles were filming, they were actually, which was great, they were filming it before Christmas. I heard the guy who was in charge of the cameras, and they said, oh my God, these are filament bolts. I mean, I guess he was like, he thought it was the greatest thing because of the way they shows up on the camera.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
So it's a whole different, but, that's, pretty much all I gotta say about that.
If they could accidentally stay up beyond April till November, and then it'll be time to put them up again, but they'll already be there.
That could happen, I mean, I just,
All right.
because they are just a white
Talk
light.
with them at their next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Interim village manager, anything else?
No, that's
All right,
it.
interim village manager report.
Just one thing, and just ask all the trustees to submit your ideas to Bill and I for what you consider to be Longrovian uses for Salem Lake. Once we get that, I'll work with Amanda, and, we'll try to get something together to the developer and the owner of that property. If you would please submit those to me as soon as you can, I'd be appreciative.
Is it really advisable?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of it could be kind of a catch-22. The zoning on the property is the zoning on the property. And if they want something different, they need to ask us. As opposed
Right.
to, gee, I was awake in the middle of the night and I came up with these 4 ideas, and it's like the dumbest idea.
I think they know, Rita, you're
The
so
other way,
right,
what
yeah.
are the things we would definitely not want there? And we'll tell them, don't consider these things.
But even that,
I hear you, by the way. I'm equally concerned.
I
I am.
think it takes away
But-
potential potential creativity, it takes away potential, things that we maybe wouldn't have thought of.
It's kind of their job.
Well, I don't think it's my job to tell them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's their job. It's not our job to tell them what.
Precisely, you know, and I understand why the agent is asking.
I do too.
I get it, you know, why spin wheels, why, you know, waste time, I get that, but the zoning is the zoning is the zoning, deal with it. I'm opposed to saying, gee, I love circus in town, you know, or.
Well, and three of us would like the circus, so it's a done deal.
That's the other, yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to be very cautious on that, yeah. So I don't, if you have
I
thoughts,
mean,
we need to be very
I
cautious,
understand
yeah.
why they're asking, you know,
Yeah.
it's great due diligence. We're not looking for a 7-story office building, obviously, but that kind of goes without saying, nobody's building office buildings. You know, they're not conducive to living in them, because the plumbing's all swanky in those buildings, so.
Well, and then you get into them where if you cut your price, maybe you'd have a little more traction. Is it, when in doubt, it's price.
You know, I'm happy to tell anybody individually what I would love to see that building be, but I don't think it's up to us to tell that to the agent or whoever.
I have a question, so is this proposed for redevelopment?
Yes.
You know when this building was built?
I'm sure that it's got historical significance.
It's right.
That's what I thought.
It's absolutely in there, and it's got great guts. I mean, it's just a fabulous building.
This is a perfect opportunity for a tax credit project.
Right.
For the owner.
Right, and we should let the agent know that.
All right, so we're not gonna solve this one tonight. Thank you for that report. Anything else?
No.
Okay, I'd like a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Tanucci. Get a second?
I don't know if you know, I
Send me that.
bet you do it.
Send you what, ordinance?
Well,
Yeah, didn't I give you a copy?
Yeah, I have it, but electronic, I can send it.
I'm not just.
Oh, sure.
Can I get a second from somebody?
Huh?
You want me to ask Dan?
Oh, I can handle it. I can do it.
Yes, it will be quick. Will be quick. So, Ian, will you give me a
Okay,
second?
we
You
have.
got a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, as soon as everyone leaves. Will you shut that camera off back there? I know.
Ken, thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna ask Jeff for a copy of that thing. I can't, it's too small.
I checked my spam and I saw that email.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can we get a roll call vote to go into executive session? Seconded, yeah.
Trustee Tanucci?
Yes, to go into executive session? Aye.
Trustee Jamil? Trustee Borowski? Trustee Chris Meyer?
Here?
Trustee O'Connor?
It's trustee, she
O'Connor
left.
has left.
She left the building, she's not here. Trustee O'Reilly, are you an aye to go into executive session?
Aye.
Okay, so we're gonna put us in executive session. You're gonna record this as soon as people leave.
She's not coming back?
No. Did you get, trustee Fitzmyer too?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, we're going to.
I need 1 minute. They're talking about me for another minute.
You can take the roll.
All right. We all here? You unlocking the door? We're in the main session. We're back in regular session.
We're ready to session?
Yeah.
Okay, we're back in regular session. Time for one more, second last plan. We're good. Okay. Thank you, Doug.
Okay, so, the item on the agenda is appointment of new village manager and ratification of the employment agreement. This is, I should announce it, Beth McAndrews. Who wants to make a motion? Moved by trustee O'Reilly, second by trustee Tanucci.
Trustee O'Reilly?
Aye.
Trustee Tanucci?
Aye.
Trustee Jamil? Aye. Trustee Chris Meyer?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Let her vote.
Motion carried, yeah, I'm going too quick. All right, so, thank you, everyone. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by trustee Jamil. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. That's right, you will. Thank you for making it. Thank you.
Safe travel.
Yes.